Hello everyone and welcome to the final day of the Tour of Gippsland, part of course of Oz Cycling's National Road Series. See the racing going on in the background. The National Road Series races have been wrapped up. There's plenty still going on here at Phillip Island on the MotoGP circuit. I'm Scott McGrory, joined by Jethro Nagle. Final day, Jethro, and it was a cracker for both the men and the women.
It was an absolute cracker. Stage 4, there were tired legs, tired minds as well out there, Scott. And, well, if you were coming here for the first time, you wouldn't have known because they were racing like it was on and like everything was on the line.
Absolutely. Early start. They switched it. The last few days, the women went before the men. Final day, did the right thing and had the men go nice and early this morning. It was quite chilly early on this morning here at Phillip Island. And, of course, racing the Grand Prix circuit in the opposite direction, so going clockwise. How much do you think that the riders were thinking about that direction change from yesterday's stage and whether it was going to play much of a role?
Well, they definitely were thinking about it because the rearrangement of the course, the reverse nature, kind of took the climb out of the equation, really, the difficulty of the climb, because there's quite a long descent this time around towards the coast. So any attacks were often going to be negated by the bunch just rolling back onto them as they entered the coastal section. And then the finale, so the last 400 metres, this time was a drag up to the line with a tailwind, as opposed to yesterday, it was a flat run into a block headwind. So there was definitely more to think about today.
Yeah, well, I reckon both finishes had their own technical nature to it, wasn't it? Downhill headwind, go too early, you blow. Uphill tailwind, go too early, you still blow, but you might have a chance to hold on because of that tailwind. But look, let's have a look at the men's race and how it all unfolded this morning.
With the sun rising over Phillip Island, the riders in Oz Cycling's National Road Series were all set for the fourth and final stage of the Tour of Gippsland. Racing the Grand Prix circuit in the opposite clockwise direction for the last stage, as always, the men were quick to start attacking on the first of 18 laps. 80 kilometres around the fast-flowing circuit, with the wind not as strong as on the previous stage. Eventually, 3 riders got clear. Tarly Lane Welsh in the green of Caish Parkup, the black and white of Mackenzie Edwards from Blackshaw Racing, and Tynan Shannon. The gap grew to a maximum of 2 minutes, but Team Bridge Lane took control of the peloton and the leader, Tristan Saunders, looked comfortable. The pace up front was too hot for Mackenzie Edwards, leaving Shannon and Lane Welsh to try and hold off the main bunch. But the Caish Parkup rider had been told to stop working by his team manager because his squad had started chasing hard to try and bring it all back together for a bunch sprint. It was all together on the final lap, and Bridge Lane then seized control of the front of the peloton, setting up Saunders to launch his sprint to convincingly win back-to-back stages, ahead of Declan Tresize of ARA Skip Capital and Tristan's teammate Elliot Schultz. Saunders took out the general classification victory by 22 seconds over Boris Clark from the Cycling Development Foundation and 26 seconds to Blackshaw Racing's Oliver Stenning. Tristan Saunders continues to lead the National Road Series overall standings, with Team Bridge Lane on top of the team classification.
So Bridge Lane, again, looking dominant, but they didn't get it all their own way. They had to work for it, didn't they?
They did have to work for it, as we see the top 4 on the stage with Tristan Saunders taking out Declan Tresize and Elliot Schultz there. They had to work for it, but I tell you what, they played an absolutely perfect game of poker out there, Scott. At the beginning, when that initial break went away, Bridge Lane, they were the first to take it up, and they took up the pace, very pedestrian, and they were waiting. They let the gap go out to 1:30. Still, no teams were interested, and all of a sudden, the other teams blinked, being ARA, Skip Capital, and Caish Parkup, and then they started to chase. And it just worked perfectly in their favour, Scott, because they brought back the move, and then Bridge Lane pounced, and it was a little bit like having someone build the house for you, and you just drive the car into the garage and say, thank you very much.
Yeah, it was interesting, wasn't it? Because the team in green were out in front. They were represented with one rider, yet they took up the chase. And in the end, Kurt Ether finished 4th. So they had a guaranteed, if it stayed away, top 3. They decided to bring it all back together. and then finished with 4th in the end. So it didn't quite work out for him. But we see in the overall classification, Tristan Saunders coming away. Look, he won the Melbourne Warrnambool many, many months ago to start the season off. It seems like it was last year. It seems that long ago. But another great win from him. And Boris Clark, man from New Zealand, good to see him up in the mix. And Ollie's standing there in 3rd. Stretton has been sprinting really well, actually, the last 2 days, riding for Bridge Lane, also ahead of Ludman. So some big time gaps down towards 4th and 5th. But I just thought it was really interesting, the tactics from Cachet Park up to chase that group back and to then only able to be finished 4th on the stage.
Yeah, I tell you what, I was really monitoring just the faces of the riders as well in that move. In, of course, Edmondson and Shanann as well, the individual rider, and yes, the rider from Cachet Park up. He looked extremely fresh out there, and he took home the KOM jersey thanks to a Droit, of course. So that's a nice little consolation prize. But yeah, Scott, I think a 33% chance of going to the line. It was certainly questionable. And Bridge Lane, they would have been running their hands together. But, you know, Scott, I touched on the individual rider in that breakaway, Tynan Shanann. He was a powerhouse out there. And at one stage, he was actually riding himself into the top 5 on GC as an individual.
Yeah, not bad. We did see the result there for the under-19s as well, with New Zealander Reeve Roberts coming away with the overall win. And now he was in the breakaway yesterday, just showing how strong he is. And that's why he had a 2-minute 20 gap in the end to 2nd place overall. So there's another New Zealander that's made his way across and riding really well here in Australia. So an under-19 guy that we have to look out for in the next couple of years of the National Road Series, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, we like these conditions as well, very similar to a windy race on the coast there over in NZ. Yeah, it was really
probably
good.
A bit too warm. Probably a bit too warm for the Kiwis here.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Well, let's hear from our stage winner, Tristan Saunders, who has taken out the Tour overall and is the leader of the National Road Series.
Yeah, it was another good day out on the track. Super fun racing. Bit faster this direction. It felt pretty nice, but no, it was awesome to go back to back. But yeah, pretty perfect lead out from the boys there at the end.
Well, you know the circuit so well now, 2 wins on this particular circuit. But yeah, so it was quite different going in the other direction today.
Yeah, it was. Like the tight corner from yesterday was a lot more flowing today, and you sort of just glided up the hill with the momentum, and then all the way around the back it was super fast. So you know, we just sat in, conserved, and then had a go at the end.
Had that 3-rider break go off the front that had one from Cachet Park up in it, but they were the team that really took up the chase after all.
Yeah, well, they have a really good sprint squad here, so they were pretty keen to go for the sprint, I think, and also ARA losing some time yesterday. Their best option was Declan with the sprint, so both those guys are pretty motivated to bring it back, which, you know, worked for us in the end. We didn't have to chase too hard because we had the gap on GC, but yeah, they had to do the hard work for us, and we just benefited off it.
Did it work out really well for you guys on the last lap, so you could actually save a lot of energy as a team for a lead out for you?
Yeah, exactly. The last 10 laps or whatever, when those boys picked it up, we just sat in there nicely. So we conserved the legs for the majority of the race there, and then yeah, the boys just unleashed the power at the end, and yeah, the train got moving.
You came into this as the overall leader of the National Road Series. You will go out with a bigger points advantage now, so you must be pretty happy how the season's running.
Yeah, I'm glad to score some more points. It's always nice to have a bit of a big buffer, but it's nice racing with the jersey, and yeah, you don't feel the pressure too much when you got a bit more of a gap.
Good stuff, mate. Well done.
Thank you, mate.
Yeah, so that was Tristan Saunders. I guess, Scott, when the toughest moments of the race appeared and the moments that really mattered, Tristan Saunders just showed his class. You know, yesterday in the breakaway stage, he made the move. And again today in the finale, just to consolidate that with 2 wins, shows his class, the reigning Melbourne Warrnambool champ.
Yeah. Well, they were really not under much pressure, were they? They weren't pushed that hard, Team Bridge Lane, and Tristan, you know, held his end up really, really well. Well, after the break, though, we'll check out what happened in the women's race.
Stay young with you. Stay young, stay young, stay young.
Well, in the women's final stage here on Phillip Island, there was a few riders still in the mix, but again, Team Bridge Lane looked like they had pretty much the race in control, Jethro.
They certainly did. It was, I have to say, another Bridge Lane masterclass. They've done it in the men's. They did it again in the women's. This time, it was just using their riders as attacking means of defence, and Gina Ricciardo was particularly useful here. They used her in the breakaway and let that break go with Gina, with Mackenzie Coupland and Rachel Wales. And Gina was really formidable and making sure that that breakaway stayed away so that they could gobble up all the intermediate time bonuses. And it really took, not only did it take the race GC win away from ARA with Georgie Whitehouse, but it also kind of took the sting out of the tail. And it was a really impressive show of team strength.
Yeah, it was, certainly was. But early on, I must say, pretty aggressive. So really good to see the ladies having a real go here on this final stage. So let's check out the action from the women's fourth stage.
The final stage for the women was 16 laps for 70 kilometres around the racing circuit. Bridge Lane's Emily Watts had a 7-second lead in the overall classification to Stage 2 winner Caitlin Nicholson from Butterfields and 11 seconds to Stage 3 winner Georgia Whitehouse. The early laps were littered with attacks, with the NRS ladies being really aggressive on this final stage. And after 6 laps, 3 riders moved ahead, with number 1 Gina Ricciardo policing the move for Bridge Lane, along with ARA Skip Capital's Rachel Wales, and fresh back from the Under-19 World Championships in Glasgow, Mackenzie Coupland from the Cycling Development Foundation. Ricciardo picked up the time bonus sprints, but the gap didn't get much more than 30 seconds, with the Women's Racing Project doing most of the chasing. After it all came back together, Bridge Lane's Keely Bennett jumped clear with 4.5 laps to go. She picked up the final intermediate sprint, but it was the stage victory that she was hunting. It was a good show of strength from Keely, coming back from a nasty crash in the first stage. At the bell, the gap was 30 seconds, and it had become a real fight between Bennett and the rest of the field. Rachel Wales did much of the chasing, but the gap was holding strong on the final lap, giving Keely Bennett plenty of time to celebrate a hard-fought win on the final day here on Phillip Island. A strong sprint from Lily Pollock gave Bridge Lane a 1-2 finish, with Ella Sibley from Cervelo Zip Track third. It was great to see a strong solo effort rewarded with a stage win. It was a brilliant 3 days for Team Bridge Lane, with the overall classification win going to Emily Watts, ahead of Caitlin Nicholson of Butterfields Racing and ARA Skip Capital's Georgia Whitehouse. And they extend their overall lead in the National Road Series Teams classification.
It really was a case of whatever the men can do, the women can do better, and Team Bridge Lane were very, very strong indeed. Great sprint there from Lily Pollock to pick up second for the team, ahead of former Junior World Scratch Race champion Ella Sibley, so another run rider on the rise. Gina Ricciardo, another Bridge Lane rider, Emily Watts there in fifth as well. So they really dominated, didn't they?
Yeah, they really did dominate. They, I guess it was just that question. We saw ARA in the first couple of stages take 2 victories with only 3 riders. But when it came down to the GC, the numbers of Bridge Lane was just too much. There's the final GC results. Emily Watts, 9 seconds ahead of Caitlin Nicholson, and Georgia Whitehouse was 12 seconds back. Amanda Paulson, good ride on her own as well, 58 seconds back. And Rachel Wales, Scott, she did a mountain of work, not only in that early move, in the beginning of the race, but also at the end when Keely's advantage got out to 30 seconds. It was only left to Wales and Alex Martin-Wallace to chase it back. So really good effort from them. They just needed a few more riders, ARA.
They did. And look, the 9-second win doesn't sound that much actually, but they certainly were stronger as a force, as a team force, than what perhaps that indicates, the 9 seconds. The under-19s as well, they were in amongst the mix of the elite riders also. So good to see, Talia Appleton also with Team Bridge Lane, but wins the under-19 classification. Mackenzie Coupland, we saw a lot of her early in the season as well in the National Road Series. She's a young rider, but really with a lot of potential.
Yeah, she certainly is. And I spoke to her just before the podium ceremonies, Scott, and I said to her, "Oh, how are you feeling? You ready for a rest?" And she sort of sat back in her chair and she's like, Yes, I'm ready for a long break. So for many of these riders, particularly these junior riders, we see their talent, we see their skills out there, but we also forget that they are very young. And after a big block in Europe and internationally, many of these riders are ready for a break. So it was good to see them one last time before they have a rest.
Yeah, it was. Well, it was dominant foot showing there from Team Bridge Lane. So let's hear from our stage winner and our overall winner as well.
Honestly, speechless. I was not expecting that at all. After what happened in the career, I had to get 4 stitches in my elbow. So I was happy to just ride for M this tour after that happened. And I just had the legs in me. And I just kept going and could get all the girls' motivation behind me and patting the radio. It was unreal and it feels amazing. Yeah.
How good is it to get back up off the road after that crash and a couple of days later come away with a win?
Look, I knew I had good legs and I, felt good mentally. And I think this year I've realised I have to be more resilient in racing, and I've definitely got that over this past 6 months. It feels really good. I'm really, really chuffed.
Let's say 2 laps to go or so. Gap's around 30 seconds. What are you thinking? It's pretty hard out there. You think you were going to hold on?
Well, I could hear that some girls were coming across. I was like, maybe they can come across and we can work together to the finish. Maybe I'll just stay out here and make it a bit harder for M. And then I got 1 lap to go and I just went full legs, full committed. And I think that was probably my fastest lap just because I had so much motivation from the guys' team and our staff on the side of the road. It was, that really lifted the morale a bit, yeah.
Well, great staging, well done. And also the overall tour victory, so well done, Em.
Yeah, we're super happy. I said before I wanted to get the win, we wanted to get the win and we wanted to get the GC, and I think we did that. And it's pretty cool to get it the way we did. I think nailed it the whole race. I don't want to say we're going to be SD Works perfect, but I'd call it pretty perfect.
Look, you're visibly more up and about. We've chatted a couple of times these last couple of days and you're a little bit subdued, even though you were leading, but now you're really happy.
Yeah, I think there was all that thought in my mind. I was like, Georgie's going to be covered every day. What am I going to do to cover her? And I got her in that intermediate sprint and that really boosted me a bit. But then Keely had to go in front. I was like, oh, we get the win, we get the GC. It's fine.
And once again, you talk about SD Works as the great, fantastic team in Europe, but you guys are doing a brilliant job, Team Bridge Lane here in Australia.
Yeah, look, the field is different, but it's really great to see that we can do what SD Works is kind of doing, and we definitely got a lot of inspiration from then racing them in Tour again.
Fantastic job from all of the team, and particularly on the day today. Well done, overall victory.
Yeah, and just thanks to all the girls. It's me and her on top, but we actually got second as well. And me was our superstar, and Gina was out the front most of the day. So we're pretty represented. So go Bridge Lane!
So that was a really good interview there from Keely Bennett and Emily Watson. Emily Watts, Scott, she's not just a great leader in that team, but she's also a strong mentor to those young riders in that team as well. And you could just see, just from that interview, there's a really good culture in the team. And it was just great to hear their jubilation to get the job done as a team here at Tour of Gippsland.
Yeah, look, absolutely. And, that's it. That wraps up the Tour of Gippsland for us here at Phillip Island. But make sure you tune in to the next one. So it's Cycle Sunshine Coast, mid to late October, and it's the next big race. So we go from Phillip Island up to the Sunshine Coast. You and I are looking forward to that one, Jethro, I'm sure.
Oh, looking forward to it. It's going to be another cracker, and I'm looking forward to see who else will appear on the podium at the next event.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks to you, mate. And thanks for tuning in, everybody. Look forward to the Cycle Sunshine Coast, the next in the National Road Series. We'll see you then.